A lot of people are talking about this moment from a cabinet meeting with Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary. I want to know your opinion. So yeah, I already know my analysis is not going to go over well with certain people, but listen, this is just my opinion, and you could have a different one. But this is one of those cases where you can kind of get worried, even if you support the president, that he's surrounded by people who are afraid to really give him their true opinion, or at the very least, they act like sycophants instead of actual cabinet ministers who should be openly and frankly discussing all the issues with him. Like with Howard Lutnick, for example, do you think that when he is one-on-one with the president, that he is giving the president his actual opinion if he thinks one of the ideas is bad or something is going to go wrong with some of the moves that he's making in terms of the tariff, in terms of other things? I don't think so, right? I get the feeling that they pretty much tell him what he wants to hear. And this is a classic problem with kind of like hardball bosses where they just want people either to agree with them, or at the very least, the people that are working for them, their subordinates, take it as if that's what they want to hear. And that's what I'm going to tell them. I don't think that there is like an open and frank discussion of all of the things that are going on. So, for example, the tariff issue, there's a number of things here. For example, the small business secretary said something to the effect of, like the $17 trillion coming in. Now, we all know for a fact $17 trillion is not coming in, and they're saying it as if it's like an immediate thing. A lot of those are just verbal agreements. There's no formal agreement on a bunch of these things. Some of the numbers, as is usual with the government, is double counted, triple counted. They're counting the same thing multiple times, multiple different ways. They're taking, if somebody says, oh yeah, we're going to buy a factory in the United States and invest $50 billion, theoretically, if business conditions permit, if the economy is doing well, they're taking all of those numbers and just adding it up, or just adding additional things that don't really make sense to make up that $17 trillion number. Now, the president says it all the time with the $17 trillion, but when the cabinet secretary is mentioning it, are they just saying it because the president is saying it, or did they actually look into it and they think that that's the right number? Right? So these are the things that are kind of concerning, and almost every one of these cabinet meetings, which Trump himself says he's super bored by the way, they come off like a pledge of allegiance to the president and what he's thinking and what he's saying. And it's just like a media circus, and they're just sitting there and they're just repeating, like, yeah, you're doing a great job. It's like, is that what we really want from cabinet ministers? And listen, this is serious times. These times are not times where we want people that are sycophantic. We want people that are, just saying what we want to hear. These are times of extreme competition globally. There's realignment of trade deals, massive changes in the European Union, in Canada, in South America. There's geopolitical changes all over the world. The dollar's reserve currency status is under serious threat. The United States is in $40 trillion in debt. Inflation is sticky. The living conditions of most Americans are worse than they were for the previous generation for the first time in history. Most Americans in the prime buying age for houses cannot afford one. Interest rates make it extremely unaffordable. Then you add on top of that these extreme prices in houses, in new cars, in used cars. We are in a weird situation where people can't afford much. The quality of life is going down. And it's one of those things where it's like, you're going to own nothing and be happy for it. They're talking about 50-year mortgages. They're talking about 100-month, 120-month car payments. These are really problematic times. And we want serious people who are willing to stand for what they think is the correct move, not just what their boss wants to hear.